So there's 3,400 inmates here. Every one of these guys is going to be coming back out to us.
Our penal system is the laughingstock of the world. We know that we can do better.
Behind these doors is a community we rarely get access to. Tonight, I'll take you inside a program here at the Westville Correctional Facility where some local professors are working with prisoners to help them become better people before they re-enter your community.
This is a tremendous opportunity for us as a society.
A murder.
Forgeries.
The point of addiction that I was at, I really truly don't believe I had 6 more months to live on the streets.
Yeah, I've been incarcerated before. I mean, it's the same charge. I got out on house arrest in 2008 and came back, violated, and came back in 2009.
I quit school in the 9th grade, so.
I got in a little trouble early on in high school, my 9th grade year, and ended up going to boys' school and got my GED there.
You know, a lot of guys come to prison and they think, well, society's forgot about me, or, you know, I don't exist to them, I'm just a name and a number.
His name, Ricky Hammonds, inmate number 102425, guilty of murder. It was October 6, 1999, on this LaPorte County road where Hammonds dumped the body of former roommate Daniel Cassidy. Hammonds shot him 9 times. October 14th, 1999, a 21-year-old Hammonds led the headlines in local papers as he turned himself in. Articles tell the story of how he walked into the LaPorte County Jail drunk. His charges? 1 count of murder, 1 count of battery, 1 count of public intoxication.
Currently, my out date is October the 12th, 2020.
Family members of the victim who knew Hammonds were quoted, they didn't think he could do something like this.
Going back in time to a distant location, an occurrence took place that would ultimately change my credence.
Mike Ruiz, inmate number 238345, charged with burglary. His crime spanned across 5 Indiana counties. Ruiz targeted private homes, stealing cash, jewelry, and electronics. A stolen laptop that he tried to sell on the streets of downtown Indianapolis ended his crime spree.
This goes back to the beginning of something extraordinary.
According to his affidavit, Ruiz made one request the night of his arrest.
Back to the beginning of something truly special.
He asked for a piece of paper to write an apology to his victims. He was battling addictions, which led to his crimes. The addiction took him away from friends and family, even his time as a student at Indiana University.
Back to the beginning of her.
But most importantly, the love of his life.
However, it was this specific meeting that was destined to take place, and I can only say that now as I reflect on it almost a decade later.
Ruiz finds hope for a future through his writing. His rehab, a pencil, and a piece of blank paper.
That I now believe love can overcome any obstacle that could possibly arise in a relationship, as well as in this wonderful, crazy journey we know as life.
You know, just laying around idle. You know, I had a lot of time on my hands, you know, like 7 years, you know. And idle mind is the devil's playground.
Carl Gary, inmate number 944163, charged with forgery.
I couldn't find a job for months. You know, I got out in July. I didn't find a job until January of next year. And it was through a temporary service, the only person. And we worked maybe 2 days a week. And I had to figure out a way to provide for my family because I do have kids, you know.
The father of 3 has been in and out of jail since he was a teenager. A cycle of crime passed down to his son.
Well, my son, and we're very close, and whether or not sometimes he don't want to admit it, he wants to be like his dad. He's at Wabash Correctional. So allowing yourself to get caught up in that, well, can possibly kill all your dreams.
A dream that seemed far-fetched in the free world, now obtainable behind bars.
Maybe 3 years ago, they posted a sign on the dorm and said that it was a pilot program, you know, starting out with 2 classes.
It was like, okay, what's your angle? Why are you really doing this? You know, what are you getting out of this? There's got to be a reason why you want to come in here. I mean, we really thought at first, you know, there's some other motivation that they have coming in here.
I actually was planning on transferring from this facility when this opportunity arose, and it made me stick around.
I knew that it was a wonderful opportunity for me to gain some more credits, which I already had, you know, a few credits when I started. So I knew if it succeeded, then I have the possibility of leaving prison with a degree.
And then over a while, you know, we started to see that they really care, that they really want to make a difference, you know, in our lives and in the lives of other people too.
For me, it's a chance to further my education and to get a better sense of who I am and to refine myself while I'm in here so that I've got a chance when I get out there.
There's been times when I didn't think I was capable of some of the classes that was very hard and strenuous, you know, reading plenty of books, and there was times I wanted to give up.
Hey guys, how you doing? So, what are you working on over here?
Professors like Dr. Z, you know, they approached me and said, you know, you can do this, you know, just don't give up, you know.
So what are you working on, Ryan?
Prisons from the 1970s all the way up to 2013, and we're looking at the statistics between males and females.
There's gonna be times when you fail, but one thing you can say is you tried. And that kind of pushed me.
So I got involved with the program in the fall of 2013. Now what's interesting is that I had done some volunteering at the state prison, at Indiana State Prison in Michigan City. Easy stuff, easy reading.
Dr. Damian Zorro.
Yeah. So is this also something like you've written and are revising, or is this a new draft?
Working through.
Okay, okay.
Is not your typical professor. His story is far from a life of crime.
I was blessed to grow up quite privileged. So just learning about, you know, other life experiences, you know, beyond what you see on TV.
From a young age, Dr. Zorro's mother opened up his eyes
My mother was an inner city school teacher in Brooklyn.
to the power
So just to everybody over here, how are summer classes going?
of education.
She was very dedicated to what at the time, you know, was a very difficult job, and was relentless in, you know, her willingness and her love for her students and her, you know, desire to serve them and to be a good teacher. And that certainly made an impression on me.
An impression that has made Dr. Zorro
That's the man around here.
Big Z-Dog, right here.
Is this good?
That's right, yeah.
Yes, yes, this is really good.
perhaps the most influential figure in this program.
It's really meant the world to me. You know, the ability to come in here with these students and teach a subject that I love and help people find their voice.
Giving his students a voice, otherwise silenced from a life of isolation.
And you could add that line. It just, you know, when someone comes in here new because of, again, prison experiences, experience in the streets and everything, you don't necessarily trust me immediately as an authority figure, maybe the way that, you know, students elsewhere would trust me. So, you know, I have to, in some ways, earn that trust. And I also had a cousin who was locked up in New York State. Again, got into drugs, you know, went wrong in his life tragically. And to make a very long story short, I mean, he never got rehabilitated. He's actually now incarcerated again in a different state, in Florida. And so that always like made me think, like, what goes on in prison? What is it that people can sort of go in and maybe not come out the other side better? Another thing
A personal connection
is
that's now a part of his professional mission to help these non-traditional students
is there another angle?
get an associate liberal arts degree.
It was probably one of the greatest accomplishments I've had my whole life.
Is this also for Elman? So how do you think you can strengthen the argument?
While they serve out their time.
No one does anything like this alone.
This is my introductory paragraph.
Taught by some of the most well-known professors in their fields.
You can learn a lot, and they also learn a lot from you.
From the University of Notre Dame, Holy Cross, and other prestigious universities.
What you start to see is what you were saying, like a mind can influence behavior and can influence how people act. And again, that gets at that fundamental tenet of education, which is to change lives.
This ABC 57 News special presentation, Locked Up in Learning, is brought to you with limited commercial interruption by Goodwill Industries.
I was arrested more times than I can remember. I lost my freedom, my family. I almost lost my life. But Mom never gave up on me. Not many stories like mine have happy endings. But my future began when Goodwill helped me find a job. That's how your donation to Goodwill changes lives.
College programs in prisons are nothing new. In fact, nearly every state university in Indiana was working with the Department of Corrections. But funding was cut 20 years ago when lawmakers argued it was unjustifiable to give funding to prisoners when ordinary citizens had a hard time paying for college. I'm Colleen Bormann. ABC 57's special presentation, Locked Up in Learning, continues.
Post-secondary college programs come and go.
Westville Corrections Superintendent Mark Sevier has been working in the DOC for nearly 30 years.
I think 2006, the Pell Grants stopped for the federal government, which stopped virtually every college program there was in the state because these guys just don't have the funds to participate.
He views education as a responsibility of the DOC, giving inmates a chance once they leave these prison cells.
Let's talk about some of the benefits that you're seeing with some of these inmates. When you look at them, you see emotional changes, physical changes. What kind of changes do you see in these inmates?
You see great strides. It also raises self-confidence, self-esteem, and those type of things. And because they can learn and they're engaged in the classroom setting.
Engaged in learning how to be a better student instead of being a better criminal.
There's 3,400 inmates here. Every single one is going to back out these fences and live next to us or in our communities. And every tool that we can give them to be successful is a tool that, they're not going to be coming back here, hopefully.
So it's no surprise that Superintendent Sevier was elated when he got a phone call from staff here at Holy Cross, Dr. Alicia Sarazinski to be exact.
So for us, we're thinking very big. As far as I'm concerned, the sky's the limit. And I talk to the guys that way.
The guys at Westville call her Dr. Saro. Her official role, Director of the Westville Education Initiative.
I like to say, this is the most challenging and most rewarding thing I've ever done. I can see you spend a lot of time thinking about number one, to be able to take what we love to a really marginalized population and educate them and grow them as students and as human beings. It's a tremendous opportunity.
An opportunity presented by Bard College out of New York.
It wasn't my idea. I want to make that very clear, but I'm the person who makes it happen on the ground.
In 2009, the Bard Prison Initiative received a private grant to help bring liberal arts degrees in prisons across the country. It expanded to Connecticut, Iowa, Maryland, and most recently, Indiana through Holy Cross College.
It really was a great honor to be the place that they decided of all the institutions in the state of Indiana, where should we do this? Where should we take this?
They come here, they sold me on the idea very quickly. It didn't take but 10 minutes. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. How do we make this work?
This is how it works. Holy Cross College runs admissions once a year every summer. Then a steering committee made up of faculty from Holy Cross College, Notre Dame, and Bard College choose the final candidates. This past summer, 150 inmates applied.
28 will start this fall.
Our expectations are very high, and we don't want our faculty to compromise.
We expect students to meet those.
They're not gifts.
They have to put in a lot of effort. We demand a lot from them.
You have to work. This is a full-time job and then some. You know, you're in class and then you have 6-10 hours of work outside of the classroom. It's very rigorous.
A rigorous journey to obtain a Holy Cross College Associate of Arts degree.
We're starting with the associate's degree because it is attainable, right? And when you have never been to college, for most of these guys, right, in your entire life, then obtaining even a bachelor's degree seems so far out there.
It's a tough transition at first.
Electronics replaced by print. So how do they do their research? Well, good old books. And here's something you haven't seen in a while. Encyclopedias.
Out there, you're dependent on the internet, and it's a huge transition having to go back to the books and the way that it used to be. But at the same time, you can still learn just as much from these books as you can, getting on Google and doing all the things that I did out there.
Just a handful of desktop computers to share, to type and print off writing assignments.
I didn't necessarily have to relearn it, but I had to refine it. My handwriting was definitely sloppy in the beginning.
Yes, handwritten papers are also accepted in this program.
You do those workarounds. Like, there are ways that you can work, you know, non-digitally. But that being said, you realize that as important as those things are, digital things, electronic things are only tools. Real teaching still, in my opinion, the best teaching is personal interaction. But why? What makes you not want to go with what's in the text?
The ultimate goal? To help these inmates pursue more than an associate level degree once they leave prison.
We do not feel limited by their circumstances. And so we're thinking big. Do they want to go to Yale? Let's go.
So who pays for this education? Not taxpayers. Bard College Initiative is funded through contributions from individual supporters and charitable foundations. And here's why. In the U.S., we spend $212 billion annually to apprehend and incarcerate prisoners. In the state of Indiana alone, the DOC reports there are over 25,000 adult offenders in 23 facilities. It costs around $1.3 million a day to house and serve that population.
I think a lot of people maybe have a stereotypical view that it's like, you know, yeah, people who maybe have done serious things don't deserve, you know, anything beyond just being locked up. And I would, you know, I would understand that, you know, but then I would say, okay, let's look at the status quo.
It costs money to incarcerate every single human being. How do we want that money spent?
Money that is only going to increase. The Indiana Department of Correction recently released updated numbers on the state's recidivism rate, meaning the rate at which the incarcerated will return back to prison within 3 years of being released. 37.6% of inmates in Indiana return back to the system.
We have to ask ourselves, what kind of people do we want returning to our communities?
Would you rather that people, you know, come back and because they have no resources, because they can't get a job, because they have no education, they recidivate, they commit crimes again, and then they're back here, and guess what? You're paying for that.
But according to Bard College, education pays off. Among formerly incarcerated Bard students, less than 4% have returned to prison.
Well, look at the statistics. You know, without a program like this, there's a great chance that taxpayers will be having to pay for me another stay in prison.
How does it make you feel to know that you're not only inspiring your classmates, but you're inspiring your family, your mother, even your son?
I feel like through this education, it's a good chance that I can break what I believe has been a curse to our family.
When Locked Up and Learning continues.
This ABC 57 News special presentation, Locked Up and Learning, is brought to you with limited commercial interruption by Goodwill Industries.
I was arrested more times than I can remember. I lost my freedom, my family. I almost lost my life. But Mom never gave up on me. Not many stories like mine have happy endings. But my future began when Goodwill helped me find a job. That's how your donation to Goodwill changes lives.
It's one thing that the program has really taught me to do is think critical about every situation.
No way.
Yes, this is really good. But I mean, one thing about these students here is that they know about struggle.
I guess I can admit that before this, I was pretty simple-minded to where, you know, I always made excuses on why I didn't do something.
A simple mind once focused on a life of crime.
Yeah, I've been incarcerated before.
Incarcerated for crimes he's been committing since he was a teenager. Now, Carl Gary is focusing on one major thing.
I can't go back to the excuse, well, this is all I know.
A college education.
I know a whole lot more now.
An education not just for himself,
I really feel lifted.
but for his family.
Being able to write my son and tell him, you know, that your dad got a college degree.
A letter that Carl dreamed of writing would have to wait.
A week before, I was told I was going to have to do a speech, which I've never done.
Carl had one final assignment to write.
I actually forgot a paragraph, you know, because I was so nervous.
And this assignment was addressed to more than his family.
At first, I didn't really think that it was going to be as elaborate as it was, but actually it was everything and more, you know.
Carl Gary.
You know, my family was out in the crowd, and, you know, I was very emotional.
Inmate number 944163.
It was probably one of the greatest accomplishments I've had my whole life.
A college graduate from Holy Cross. Carl is one of the first graduates of the Westville Education Initiative.
I'm ecstatic because I guess I get to set the pace and show guys that may have doubts that is actually possible.
Thursday, May 21st, 2015, Carl put on a cap and gown for the first time in his life.
I really didn't know how to position it, you know, the whole time. The little thing was flying in my face.
And gave a commencement speech.
So my grandma and my mom, they showed up, and of course, you know, they was very emotional. They crying in the crowd, so, you know, I had to try to save face and not cry because, you know, I'm still in prison, you know, so.
Oh, his speech was incredible. It was beautiful. It really was. Because it was, you know, it was from the heart, and of course, all graduation speeches are, you know, that he was no exception. So it was very much from the heart, and it was a tremendous tribute to the support that his mother and grandmother have given him, who were there, and to the legacy that he hopes to be able to leave, you know, to his children.
It also served as a tribute to the support and encouragement he received from a group of people who were considered strangers just 2 years ago.
I actually seen a couple of the professors teary-eyed after my speech, you know, so that touched me because they don't have to be here, and to see that they're so caught up in the moment, knowing that they're giving a person like me an opportunity, it really, really meant a lot to me.
How does that make you feel to know that you're making such a big impact in their lives?
Grateful. Just really grateful. You know, no one does anything like this alone. So, you know, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for great teachers that I had had, people who had inspired me, my mother that I mentioned, other experiences I had had.
Professors using their own life experiences.
I mean, yeah, I told Damien, that's the first time anyone ever out-passioned me. I don't think I've ever been out-passioned before.
To challenge these inmates, giving them a second chance and a chance to break the cycle within their own families.
Somehow we have to stop that intergenerational cycle. And Carl realizes that now. What he wants to convey to his children is what happened to me is not normal. And you should not think of it in your mind as the place that I should be because my dad was there. You need to think of it as the place that I need to get as far away from as humanly possible.
Yeah, because you talked about how you've been in the prison system before. So what makes this time different?
I'm going home and say, I got a degree. I can actually look for a job and have a better chance at getting a job.
A chance at employment once they're released.
The ultimate goal is to get through it.
At least a fighting chance when we get out to be successful and stay out of prison.
The roller coaster rides like that, not just with this program, but the whole prison experience.
It's a real stunning variety, and I mean an inspiring variety of experiences, of, you know, ups and downs, of sometimes great tragedy, I mean, of heroic stories of overcoming, and all, basically the range of the human condition you really find here.
A life-changing and transformative experience.
It just opened my mind that there's another way to live my life.
Designed to rehabilitate criminals.
Now, you know, we have people who, you know, can actually make it in society.
Like Carl.
That makes me feel so good and thankful and appreciative of being able to even have this opportunity.
While serving out their time.
You know, I was deemed called a menace to society and sent to prison for the DOC to correct myself. And what better way to correct my actions than to get a degree.
After graduating from the program in May, Carl Gary was transferred to a lower security prison. His release date, April of 2016. Carl hopes to become a mentor, using his story to help the youth in Elkhart County stay off the streets and out of jail. Mike Ruiz is expected to graduate from the program next year. His release date, August of 2017. He wants to write for a sports or music publication, but ultimately, he wants to write a book about the struggles of addictions, using his experience getting a college degree while in prison as a chapter in that book. Ricky Hammonds hopes to graduate from the program by next May. His release date is August of 2020. His goal? To get a bachelor's degree from Holy Cross College. A new class of inmates start up this fall as the Westville Education Initiative enters its third year. Right now, there are 50 students enrolled in this program. That is 50 inmates who will eventually re-enter your community, 50 inmates who are trying to break the cycle of crime while locked up and learning. I'm Colleen Bormann. Thanks for watching this special presentation on ABC 57 News.
What they're finding, which is very exciting for all of us, you know, is that being a college student supersedes any of the other classifications or categories that they had coming in.
I'm always continually amazed at the brilliant insights that these students bring to the texts that we read, to you know, the things that we study. I mean, it's different from what my students at Notre Dame, you know, bring to those texts, which is, you know, I mean, students at Notre Dame are very talented, very elite. You know, they have good answers, they think deeply, but here, I mean, you really just have, again, something about that grittiness, that wealth, that depth of the human condition that students bring to things here is just, I mean, extraordinarily moving at times.